Hello everyone and welcome back to Granted Gardens. Today we are talking about compost. We're at the time of the year now when having compost, like fully composted compost, would be wonderful. Number one, it saves you money, not having to go out to the store to buy it. Number two, it's nice because you don't have to lug it very far. So I wanted to talk a little bit about compost today. This is something that has been on my priority list for a very long time, which is usually how I'm noticing the majority of my videos start out. So we always have projects that are like on the to-do list that we kind of like push back until they have to happen. This one we've pushed back quite some time. Like we are well beyond it having to happen. So right here over my shoulder, you see our compost bin. This is something that Tyler put together, I think about 2 years ago now. We haven't really been tending to it. I have tried to go down the rabbit hole of composting and learning about composting, and every time that I feel like I have a good grip on it, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go shoot a video, and then I never do. So today, this video is going to be pretty basic, but I want to start to get this stuff moving and shaking. So I'm going to share with you my experimental compost next steps, shall we? All right, so this is our compost bin. As you can tell, it is made out of pallets. So I think we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pallets here. So we have one along the side here, 2 in the front, another one along the side there, and then there's actually one in the middle here dividing this, going this way. So I put on my big boots today because number one, I am highly allergic to poison ivy. I can get that stuff just standing downwind, and our woods, I know for a fact, are about crammed full of it. Number two, there's critters out here, and by critters, the first thing that comes to mind is snakes. So I just don't want to step on anything and get too surprised. Okay, so this is the back end of the compost bin. You can kind of see that middle skid or pallet right here in the center. The idea was initially we were going to start compost here, and then when we went to flip it, we would flip it into the other side and then back and forth. But it kind of just turned into more of a catch-all. So what do we compost? Well, for starters, we have a kitchen composter, which I have in a video, some of my favorite kitchen tools. I'll see if I can link that here. The kitchen composter, basically we use that to collect all of our kitchen scraps. So anything that's not meat, okay? Banana peels, ends of lettuce, ends of celery, eggshells. We put eggshells in. But that's the extent to the meat stuff, or to the animal stuff is the eggshells. We don't go any further than that. So we'll collect that, and then we come out here, we dump that every once in a while. In addition to what else is in this compost pile, the majority of this is our chicken bedding. So for the longest time, when I went to clean out the chicken coop, I was cleaning it out once a week, and I was dumping the bedding here in the compost bin. I actually did a video on that. I'll try and link that here. I later decided that when I was cleaning out the chicken coop, a lot of that stuff was still fresh. Like they weren't even really spending time going to the bathroom in every section of that chicken coop. So a lot of the bedding that I was throwing out was pretty good bedding. So I ended up, instead of just tossing it right on the compost pile, I ended up cycling our chicken coop bedding into the run to try and cut down on the muddiness. I'll add that video so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. But a lot of this is the chicken bedding that I was initially dumping. This compost pile is easily a year, maybe 2 years old, and it's just been a catch-all. When we cleaned out our gardens last fall, anything that wasn't sick or diseased, we tossed in here. Tyler has done grass clippings. You can see some grass clippings here on top. So my first stint here is I want to open up this compost pile and see what it looks like and see how far I can get down and see if anything's actually composting. Again, this was no method. This was just a dump method. This was just a put it on the pile and see what happens. So I think that this is a good time right now for me to mention my t-shirts. The t-shirt that I have on today is from the Good Time Holler Homestead. They have a YouTube video. I'll go ahead and I'll link their YouTube video below in the comments. So make sure that you guys go and check them out. I specifically saved shooting this video to wear this t-shirt while I was doing it. And the reason why is because if you guys aren't familiar with Good Time Holler Homestead, you need to check them out. They do some amazing things with pallets or skids, whatever you want to call them. And since our compost bin is made out of pallets, I thought that it would just make sense that we went ahead and kind of shared their t-shirt and talked a little bit about them when I did this video. And so make sure you check them out. Specifically, they have like pig pens set up on their property that are majority, if not entirely, made out of pallets. So they get really creative with ways that you can build on your farm or build on your homestead for free or for very cheap using pallets. So make sure you check them out. So I started to dig into this pile. I'm trying to get down to the bottom here. Now you can see a lot of this is actually really great soil. Okay, this is awesome. I mean, this is the stuff that we're going for. Now some of this was dumped from pots that we had dumped out last year, but the rest of it is actually decomposing. So this is what we're trying to get to, that dark rich color, really healthy soil. This is the goal. What we really need in order to help the rest of this break down is we're gonna need some space. In my head, I was thinking 3 piles. I don't know if I'll get that far, but I'm gonna utilize some of this open space that Tyler had cleared out last year to try and build piles. Now, when you're building the piles, this is going to be the hot method. So the things that you're gonna need are tarps for each pile, water to moisten your pile while you build, and then obviously your compost. Now, the stuff that you're going to be composting needs to be made up of the following. You're going to need a green. The green is the nitrogen. So this is why, another reason why I had waited so long to do this, because we didn't have access to green. It had been winter time. So now that spring is here, we have access to green. I had asked Tyler to save me some of his grass clippings when he cut the grass last time. So that's what I have here. The grass clippings are going to be my green. You're also going to need brown. Brown is going to be your nitrogen, okay? And brown, as you could see, we have plenty of. That chicken coop bedding is going to be fabulous for that. All of the straw, the hay, the wood flakes from the chicken coop bedding, that's going to be our brown material. And then I do also have some dirt. Ideally, I was hoping to have coffee grounds that I could use in this as well, but I don't drink coffee, so we're going without the coffee grounds. So today we're just gonna go with green, brown, and water. Now luckily for us, the chicken bedding does also have chicken manure in it. So the chicken manure is going to be nitrogen for your composting system. I'm doing the hot composting method just because it tends to break down faster, and that's the one that I've done like the most research on. Now, I mentioned the chicken manure. Chicken manure is hot, okay? So you cannot put chicken manure directly on your garden beds. You will burn your plants. It needs to process, and this is a really great way to process it. Now, you can also just kind of stack up. I've seen people that just kind of stack up like we did the chicken bedding and chicken manure, and you let it sit, I believe it's 6 months to a year, and then that is no longer hot, so you can add that to your garden. All right, so the goal here is to set up mounds, and it's 3 feet tall, 3 feet wide, and 3 feet long. All right, so 3 by 3 by 3 is what you want to have set up. The green is going to be 1 part to every 2 parts of brown, which is great. I think I've got enough to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started by laying down some of my brown on the ground, and then I'll follow it up with green, and then I'll follow it up with water. All right, so here's my brown material. It's roughly 3 by 3 square. Now we just need to work on building up 3 feet. This is nice and dry, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add our green on top of this. So we're gonna do 1 part green for all 2 parts brown. So we're just gonna kind of lightly cover this area with green. Next is the fun part, water. We don't have water back here. So I am going to fill up some 5-gallon buckets of water, put them in the wheelbarrow, and haul them on back. All right, let's see how this goes. I've got a long way to go. Well, that actually went a lot smoother than I thought it was going to. Not much water spilled. And this was excellent because this was a dry run for how we're going to be watering the pumpkin patch and the sunflower bed all the way back there this summer. It wasn't that bad. See these 2 buckets right here? So Tyler hangs these buckets in the tree so that they collect water naturally, rainwater, and then he'll dump them on the compost pile every once in a while. So that's another like quick trick. Just hang some buckets in the tree, and then when you're out there and you need water, bam, there they are. Unfortunately, those are currently empty at the moment. All right, so I got my watering can. I'm gonna do this with a watering can. My bucket of water, and we just wanna saturate our pile. We don't need it to be like, it doesn't need to be completely like underwater. We just want it to be damp. So without having a hose out here, we're just gonna water it with a watering can. 2 of these, layer 1. Now we're going to add more brown to the top of this. I'm going to repeat these steps that I just shared with you over and over and over again until I can get the pile to be 3 feet tall. Just for the sake of education purposes, that's just from layer 1, all that missing. So I thought I could do 3 piles, maybe not today. All right. So we're at 2 layers. Moving on to number 3. Whew. What is that? Okay, so I've got my pile up to 3 feet. Ideally 3 by 3 by 3. It's not exactly a square, but it is what it is, okay? I'll show you guys my pile, then I'll show you the damage that was done to the original compost pile so you can kind of see how much it took. And then I want to show you the inside of the compost pile that we had just had sitting, not the new one, the old one, because there's some action going on in the one side. So I'm gonna show you guys. All right, so here's my compost pile, 3 feet tall, 3 feet wide, 3 feet long. And then over here is what I took out of the original compost pile to build that. Okay, so cleared well through half of the one side. This side over here, I kind of tried to start digging into the center here. When I stick my hand in here, it's very warm. It's very warm. I could feel the temperature as soon as I pulled back on that handle. And I don't know how well you can see in here, but there's definitely worms, there's bugs, there's all kinds of stuff going on in there. So it's a healthy compost pile. So if I already had a compost pile set up and it's decomposing, we saw the dirt was nice and there's worms and there's life in there, then why am I building a second compost pile? The reason for it being is that this original compost pile, like I said, we were just gathering stuff and we were just putting stuff on there. We weren't turning it, we weren't tending to it. And it will still compost. It will break down. Absolutely. It's gonna do what it's designed to do. It's just gonna take a long time. And so the whole concept of the hot compost pile is that this is gonna break down faster. It's my first time doing this, so I'm not entirely sure how fast, but you guys are welcome to subscribe and follow along and find out. All right, so the last step to finishing off this compost pile, I'm gonna pour some water on top. I did not do my water on my final step. And then we're gonna cover this. We're gonna cover it with a tarp. You wanna make sure that you cover it well with the tarp and then put something heavy on the corners of the tarp so the tarp does not blow away. Real simple, guys, real simple. there you have it. So the idea here is the tarp is going to help kind of keep the warmth in, help it break down faster, help it decompose faster. So let's talk maintenance, okay? Every 3 days, I'm gonna want to come out here and turn this pile. So again, space is crucial. I'll probably want to take off the tarp and flip it, turn it into a new area. And you can keep flipping and flopping it back and forth every 3 days until it's fully decomposed. It sounds easy enough to me. I'm curious how long it'll take. I don't have super high expectations. It's not like we absolutely need it for the gardens this year. If not, we can make do by purchasing what we need. But my goal is to keep this up, keep this going. And then that way we'll have a consistent flow, and then come spring next year, we're gonna have an abundance of compost that we can use for the gardens. So there it is, DIY compost pile. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you go check out A Good Time Holler Homestead. I'll have the link below, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon.